I never want to imitate anything that anyone else has ever done. I think there's obviously qualities about this character that are going to be similar, but this is my interpretation of the character, and and I'm aware of how much people care about this character in this world. So, I just tried to do what I thought was most truthful.
Millions of people are canceling their Netflix subscriptions. Why Netflix stock is absolutely tanking right now. I mean, it is just collapsing totally in the red. And you can see that it is on a massive downward slope this month. It's cratering. Why is that happening?
Hollywood was not prepared for the chaos that unfolded. One moment, Netflix was proudly promoting The Witcher Season 4 with Liam Hemsworth as the new White Wolf, and the next, The Simpsons delivered a parody so brutal it shifted the entire conversation overnight. What was meant to be a harmless joke became a televised demolition, exposing every flaw fans had been shouting about for years. Even people who never watched the show suddenly understood why the backlash had been so intense. Within minutes, clips of the parody flooded social media. TikTok, YouTube, and Twitter lit up with reactions, memes, and commentary mocking the new season. Netflix executives scrambled behind the scenes as the internet erupted with laughter, outrage, and disbelief. For a billion-dollar franchise, this wasn't just embarrassing, it was catastrophic. And in the center of all this noise stood one man who never expected to be dragged back into the spotlight. Fans immediately began resurfacing old interviews of Henry Cavill, the actor who once defended the lore with unwavering dedication. His calm explanations, his passion for accuracy, and his quiet refusal to accept sloppy writing were suddenly everywhere again. Viewers compared his respect for the character to the direction Netflix had taken, and the contrast couldn't have been stronger. The Simpsons had done more damage in one episode than every critic combined. But as the internet devoured the parody, a second wave of shock hit the fandom. Rumors began circulating that Liam Hemsworth himself had reached a breaking point. Insiders whispered that after watching The Simpsons roast his debut season on live TV, Liam didn't stay silent. He snapped. And according to those in the room, his reaction was far more intense than anyone expected.
A little daunting as well. I definitely felt like there was a responsibility to the fans and anyone that's watched this show before, and it definitely wasn't lost on me that people cared about this world so much and these characters, and I think it just motivated me to make sure that I understood where this character was at coming into my journey and where he'd been and what his motivation was moving forward.
Is season 4 for The Witcher not looking good so far when it comes to the reviews. When it comes to the critics, right now they're at 55%. But when it comes to the fans, 19% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Long before The Simpsons humiliated the series live on TV, the cracks were already showing. The moment Netflix announced Liam Hemsworth as the new Geralt, fans felt a shift they couldn't ignore. It wasn't about doubting Hemsworth as an actor, it was about losing the one person who embodied the character with unmatched loyalty. Henry Cavill had been more than a performer, he was the guardian of the lore. As early teasers for Season 4 dropped, the reactions were immediate and harsh. Viewers complained that the world felt colder, the dialogue flatter, and the spirit of the story strangely distant. Many said the energy had vanished the moment Cavill left, replaced with something that felt unfamiliar. Social media filled with comments comparing Cavill's intensity to Hemsworth's uncertain interpretation. Then came the reviews, and they did nothing to soften the blow. Critics tore into the season, calling it unfocused, shallow, and disconnected from the books. Rotten Tomatoes reflected the frustration, showing one of the weakest scores in modern fantasy TV. What was supposed to be a bold new era suddenly felt like a step backward in every possible way. And that's when something unexpected happened. Old clips of Cavill resurfaced. Fans shared videos of him fighting for accuracy, challenging bad rewrites, and emphasizing respect for the author's universe. Those clips reminded everyone what had been lost. The tension was already rising, and The Simpsons had not even fired their shot yet. When The Simpsons aired their Witcher parody, audiences expected a quick laugh, not a cultural earthquake. But the episode went straight for the jugular, mocking every creative decision fans had been complaining about since Season 2. Springfield's version of Geralt wandered around confused, constantly questioning his motivations, mirroring what viewers felt about the real show's direction. The fictional showrunner bragged about ignoring the books and following algorithm-approved storytelling, a line so sharp it ricocheted across the internet. People couldn't believe how precisely the parody captured the flaws of the Netflix adaptation. It wasn't just comedy, it was a mirror held up to the franchise, exposing every questionable choice. Within hours, the clips exploded across TikTok, YouTube, and Twitter. Even those who had given up on The Witcher tuned in just to watch the destruction unfold. Fans called it the most honest review Netflix has ever received, and the episode started trending across multiple countries. The laughter was loud, but the message behind it was even louder. But the biggest shock wasn't the comedy, it was the realization that the parody validated years of fan frustration. The Simpsons said what people had been too tired to repeat, and now that millions had seen it, Netflix couldn't hide from the truth anymore. The storm was growing, and the chain reaction had just begun. The moment the parody hit the internet, the fandom erupted into chaos. Hashtags like #Cavill was right and #fire, Lauren dominated timelines, echoing the frustrations of longtime fans. Memes comparing Cavill's disciplined Geralt to Hemsworth's uncertain debut spread everywhere, painting a picture Netflix couldn't escape. What had once been anxiety turned into a full-blown rebellion. Reddit threads exploded with breakdowns of the parody, calling it the sharpest critique The Witcher had faced in years. People dissected every joke, every reference, and every jab at the writers. Each detail felt like a confirmation of what fans had suspected all along. The show had drifted too far from the world it claimed to honor, the backlash became impossible to contain. Then, an insider leak shifted the narrative dramatically. According to the rumor, Liam Hemsworth was furious after seeing The Simpsons mock his new season. The leak claimed he confronted Netflix internally, demanding answers about why the writing left him vulnerable to such public ridicule. Fans seized on the rumor instantly because it felt believable in the wake of the disaster. More whispers followed, mentioning urgent meetings, late-night calls, and frantic attempts to evaluate the damage. Netflix suddenly found itself cornered by the very audience it once ignored. And as the meltdown intensified, all eyes turned toward the one person who had stayed silent through it all: Henry Cavill. As backlash surged across the internet, whispers about Henry Cavill's private confrontation spread like wildfire. Insiders claimed Cavill had walked into a closed-door meeting with The Witcher 4 creators shortly after The Simpsons parody went viral. The room, they said, was silent, thick with tension that had been building for years. No greetings, no smiles, just the weight of unresolved truths. Cavill reportedly asked the question fans had been repeating endlessly: why abandon the source material? The creators tried defending their choices, insisting they wanted broader appeal and creative freedom. But after The Simpsons exposed those same excuses on live television, their explanations sounded painfully hollow. The moment felt like a long-awaited reckoning. That's when Cavill allegedly delivered the line that changed everything. "You didn't broaden the audience, you lost the one that mattered." It wasn't shouted or emotional, it was calm, almost surgical. Witnesses supposedly described the silence afterward as devastating. No one dared respond because there was nothing left to defend. When Cavill walked out, the mood in the room collapsed. Executives exchanged worried looks, writers avoided eye contact, and everyone sensed a turning point. And once the rumor leaked online, fans celebrated it as a victory. Cavill didn't need to give interviews. The world believed the story because it aligned with everything they had witnessed. Inside Netflix headquarters, the fallout was immediate and chaotic. Executives who once dismissed fan criticism now scrambled to contain a PR nightmare meeting rooms filled with urgent discussions. Emergency emails circulated at all hours, and the phrase "brand damage" appeared in nearly every internal memo The Simpsons had done in minutes, what years of criticism hadn't achieved. Investor calls grew tense as analysts questioned the franchise's trajectory, and the ripple effects of the public humiliation subscriber data showed concerning dips in regions where The Witcher had once dominated. The CEO wasn't just annoyed, he was alarmed. The parody turned their flagship fantasy series into a global punchline, and the embarrassment was spreading fast. Marketing teams received immediate orders to pause all promotional content. Every tweet, trailer, or poster risked being flooded with mockery. They couldn't win. Anything they released was instantly overshadowed by Cavill clips or Simpsons edits. For the first time, Netflix realized they were no longer controlling the conversation around their own show. What hurt the most was how effortless Cavill's presence remained in the narrative. Without interviews or public statements, he still shaped the discourse simply through his legacy. Fans held him up as the standard the show failed to meet. And the CEO understood the harsh truth. Netflix wasn't fighting Liam Hemsworth's backlash. They were fighting Henry Cavill's shadow. As Netflix scrambled to salvage the show, fans transformed Henry Cavill into a symbol of everything The Witcher once stood for. Old interviews of him defending the lore resurfaced everywhere, reminding viewers how fiercely he protected the world he loved. Clips circulated of him correcting writers and rejecting scenes that broke the books, reinforcing the belief that he had been the heart of the series. The contrast between his dedication and the current direction became impossible to ignore. Memes comparing Cavill's authentic Geralt to the version mocked in The Simpsons flooded every platform. TikTok edits celebrating his knowledge of the universe racked up millions of views, turning nostalgia into a movement. Fans weren't just disappointed, they felt genuinely betrayed by the choices Netflix made after Cavill's exit. The conversation shifted from frustration to a collective demand for accountability. Then Cavill finally broke his silence in the most unexpected way during a quiet Q&A session. When asked about the parody, he simply smiled and said, "Comedy hits hardest when it reflects something true." It wasn't harsh, angry, or bitter, it was honest. That one sentence shook the internet harder than any press release or interview could ever hope to. It instantly became the defining quote of the entire controversy. Reaction videos appeared instantly, dissecting every word and praising Cavill's calm confidence. Fans interpreted his line as subtle validation of their concerns, cementing him as the moral compass the series had lost. Netflix had no counter to his understated reply, and the writers had no explanation strong enough to overshadow its impact. Cavill had spoken once, and it was enough to tilt the entire narrative in his favor. Cavill's quiet statement triggered a deeper crisis inside Netflix. Executives demanded updates on script direction, tone adjustments, and fan feedback analysis. There were whispers of emergency rewrites aimed at restoring authenticity, even though filming was already well underway. Writers felt the pressure mounting as every creative decision was suddenly under microscopic scrutiny. The studio knew they were losing control of the story both on screen and off. Marketing teams faced an impossible task. Every new post they attempted to share was immediately spammed with Simpsons clips, Cavill quotes, and demands for better writing. Even unrelated Netflix announcements were being hijacked by Witcher fans, turning the platform's social media presence into a battleground. Moving forward became nearly impossible when every step triggered another wave of mockery. Privately, some team members admitted that the show had wandered too far from the heart of the universe. There were late-night discussions about character motivations, lore accuracy, and tonal consistency, all topics Cavill had warned them about years earlier. But making changes this late came with enormous risks, and no one wanted to admit that the very direction they defended so strongly had caused the collapse. Netflix's biggest problem wasn't production or marketing, it was trust. Fans no longer believed the studio understood what made the world special. And with Cavill now seen as the voice of the fandom, every decision Netflix made was measured against his philosophy. The studio was out of time, out of excuses, and rapidly losing the audience that once kept the franchise alive. Rumors of Henry Cavill developing a new fantasy project spread with incredible speed. Speculation grew when a mysterious poster leaked online, showing a lone warrior under a blood-red sky. Fans became convinced it was tied to Cavill, especially since the accompanying phrase, "Respect the lore," felt like a direct reflection of his values. Whether it was real or not, the excitement surrounding it overshadowed anything Netflix attempted to promote. Online forums filled with theories about the project's origins. Some believed Cavill was adapting a forgotten novel, while others insisted he was crafting a brand new universe with writers who shared his vision. The idea of him leading a story built on passion and authenticity sparked hope across the fandom. After years of disappointment, viewers were eager for a world shaped by someone who truly understood what audiences wanted. Meanwhile, rumors continued that Liam Hemsworth had distanced himself from Netflix after feeling exposed by The Simpsons parody. Insiders claimed he was frustrated with the writing and upset that his efforts were overshadowed by poor creative decisions. The parody hadn't just mocked the show, it publicly highlighted how unprepared he had been to carry a character built so heavily on Cavill's foundation. In the end, the Witcher franchise continued, but the emotional anchor of the series was gone. Fans still considered Henry Cavill the true White Wolf, the actor who breathed life into Geralt with sincerity and unwavering loyalty to the world. The series may move forward, but Cavill's shadow remains unshakable, proving that when a story loses its heart, the hero who believed in it the most becomes its lasting legacy.